better as a result of social media presence.
If it doesn't do those three things, then it's on the chopping block.
It's a return on investment discussion.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host, Sam Dark, and joining me today is the car dealership guy, Yuriy. Yuriy, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here.
Awesome. Well, hey, for those joining our live stream today, we're live across all CDG social media platforms as always. We'd love to have you post your comments, all of them. We'll bring as many of them into today's show as we possibly can. And speaking of today's show, Yuriy and our entire audience, check out what we're bringing to you today on today's show. We've got Manheim on some auction changes brought to you by you, our listeners. Eastern's on ad best practices. And Fox is on to talk to us about avoiding tech blunders in the auto industry. So we've got an exciting action-packed show coming up for you today. But first, let's dive into the automotive.
I think we should clarify. We're talking about Fox Motors. This is not like a media... this is not Fox News or CNN.
That's fair.
This is Fox Motors.
Grand Rapids based, and our friend Yuriy, who's actually been on the industry pulse or industry spotlight in the past, was a great guest there. So very good. Thank you, Yuriy, for that clarification. All right. First up this Monday morning, we've got a tariff deal with the EU. Again, the US and EU have agreed to cap most tariffs, including cars, at 15%. That's sidestepping Trump's threatened 30% hike that was set to take effect August 1st. The agreement includes, get this, $750 billion in energy purchases and more than $600 billion in new investments. By the way, Yuriy, how's that tracked? I mean, who knows? But for automakers, especially German luxury brands like BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, Volkswagen, the new 15% tariff means fewer pricing disruptions and somewhat steadier access to the U.S. market. However, the deal leaves key issues unresolved and enforcement details still need to be ironed out. Still, it's a major de-escalation, and without it, consumers could have seen sharp price increases on those brands of imported cars, plus pharmaceuticals and electronics. Check this out. New car owners are more satisfied. That, according to J.D. Power's, owner satisfaction with new vehicles hit a record high in 2025. Marking the highest level since 2020. Scores improved across all 10 categories for the first time in nearly a decade, led by gains in fuel economy, infotainment, and interior quality. It's a clear sign that some automakers are getting better at delivering what customers want. Porsche and Mini topped their respective premium and mass market segments again, while BMW X6 earned the highest satisfaction score of any individual model. Interestingly, carryover models are still winning more emotional loyalty than brand new launches. And as J.D. Power's Frank Hanley put it, brands are getting better at building satisfying vehicles, but tech setup and complexity remain weak points. Fixing those could pay off in even stronger loyalty and pricing power. Kind of cool.
Sam,
new vehicles are better, Yuriy.
You're hearing some great things also from the government. I forget who put out. I think it was Andy Wright who recently reposted the FTC or someone saying they're going to try to stop the not push to start. Sorry, when the car turns off automatically, like the
the auto stop. You're at a stoplight and the car turns off, and you have to tap the gas pedal.
So I think you're seeing. I mean, it's good to see. Also from the government, some listening to. What is maybe not as beneficial as we thought it may be, or the government had thought, and is actually just frankly a nuisance to consumers. So I think that's a good signal.
Yeah. By the way, it's a fair point. When you're in a rental car and that happens and you're not used to that car, it's an anxiety invoking moment where you're like, wait, this car will restart, won't it? And of course it always does 9 times out of 10, but that one time is a son of a gun, right? So
we all remember the days of being in the Ford Explorer or something, and suddenly the car turns off, and it's not the start stop, it's the alternator.
Well, that too. That's that too. All right, so
and not to pick on Ford Explorer, but it's those were issues from back in the day.
Yeah. Already some comments online. Polo says Audi at the bottom isn't surprising. It's been a painful set of refreshes recently. So interesting comment online. Keep them coming. So next up today, finally, BMW is doubling down on, get this, hydrogen. What? After years of piloting fuel cell tech in the X5, the company plans to launch its first production hydrogen vehicle in 2028. BMW's hydrogen chief says this isn't about abandoning BEVs. It's about giving customers more options. What's the catch? Well, building out hydrogen infrastructure is insanely expensive. A single fueling station can cost between $2 million and $4 million and needs hundreds of passenger cars to make the economics work. It's a tall order. By the way, think of how long it's taken to build EV infrastructure, and it's not all there yet. At the end of the day, BMW is hedging instead of putting everything behind battery electric vehicles, is trying to build a second path to zero emissions. Whether that gamble pays off will depend on far more than just tech. My advice? Well, BMW may be onto something, but whatever happens, follow market demand. And I know some GMs on our team that deal with BMW are super excited with this alternate method to that lower emission. And they feel like it's a better path than EVs. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Why?
they think BMW is on the right track because they feel like it's a path that would be more easily adopted by the consumer. And they feel like, from their vantage point, there's less EV anxiety or battery anxiety that you would get with that as opposed to hydrogen. And that, Yossi, is where my knowledge ends. We need to have Will or one of our other GMs.
Because you already know I'm going to ask you 5 follow-up questions.
I don't know. When I hear hydrogen in today's market, I'm kind of like, I remember as a kid, people talking about that. And it's just never went anywhere, right? But why did it not go anywhere? Yeah. So if somebody from BMW is on and they'd love to come on and talk about it, love to have you on. Come talk to us.
So before you go on to the next section, we start with our first interview with Joe Kichler from Cox Automotive.
Yeah,
I'll let you
Cox.
do a formal introduction here. I thought this was interesting because what we're about to talk about, because this was actually submitted to us from dealers, right? This is a topic specifically, or I should say was brought to our attention initially by dealers who were impacted. And naturally, that was a great opportunity to say, hey, let's bring on a representative from, in this case, Manheim, to discuss the changes that the company is undergoing and what it means for dealers. So that's the context. And as always, if you're a dealer listening, send us any information, send us, questions you have in your mind. If you want it, if you think something deserves to be platformed for, to bring it to the general discourse, we'd love to do that. So, we have our contact info in the show notes below. You can go on our website, dealershipguide.com. There's a contact button there. You can DM us. I mean, you can literally get us in any way. You can call Ziegler Auto Group and ask for Sam, but you can literally get us anywhere. Send us your stuff.
Good luck.
And with that, Sam, I'll forward it to you.
All right. So joining us today, Senior Vice President, Digital and Supply Chain at Cox Automotive, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, Joe Kichler. Welcome to the show.
Well, nice to meet you, Sam. Yossi, thank you for having me.
Joe, great to have you
Welcome.
on. Now, Yossi, I know you kind of previewed the topic, which we're going to get into in just a second. But before we go there, Joe, we always want to ask our banner question, our leading question, the first question we ask of every guest. From your perspective at Cox Automotive, as a vendor, as a partner to dealers across the country in the United States, how's the automotive biz from your perspective?
Yeah. From a Manheim perspective, things are, for being in the middle of the summer here, the dog days of summer, things are going pretty well. Volumes remain high. Sales rates are doing well. I just looked up our 3-year-old index for the Manheim Marketplace Index that we share all the time, still about 1 and 1.2, so trending ahead of where it was last year at this time. So business is good from a Manheim and a Cox Automotive perspective.
Yeah, and in fact, we use that report within our auto group. I send it out to our managers, new and used, every week. We get weekly updates, so we do follow that. So thanks for providing that perspective. All right, so Yossi teased the topic today, but I just want to read a statement we got from dealers that were watching the show. Okay. So here's what it said. As of July 15, 2025, Manheim updated its vehicle availability policy, specifying that only vehicles listed as sold via Manheim auctions, including simulcast live or time channels, and those listed on OVE.com through a Manheim auction facilitator are guaranteed to appear on Manheim.com. This means units listed on OVE via independent or non-Manheim auctions may no longer surface on Manheim.com, potentially reducing visibility for buyers who primarily search the Manheim platform. So as a setup with that, tell us a little bit about what is this change, what prompted it, why is Cox doing it now?
Yes. So at a Manheim, I guess we own the two preeminent brands in the industry, Manheim.com and OVE. The reality is, up until the 15th, outside of the simulcast vehicles or the vehicles on property, the time sales, which would be kind of the bidding online, were equal on both Manheim and on OVE, right? So the same cars were on both properties. And we made a decision that only Manheim facilitated inventory would remain on Manheim.com. And all the OVE inventory will still have Manheim inventory and OVE, but as you mentioned, kind of our independent partner auction inventory would now sit on OVE, remain on OVE as well. We're just making the change to Manheim. And a couple reasons, why we went down this path. First, we did a bunch of market research with buyers. And the feedback we got is the experience when you go to Manheim.com, most believe you're buying the car from Manheim, and which comes with similar processes and some policies that may be a little different than the independent auction. So we're trying to clean up the buyer experience so that if you're going to Manheim, you know exactly what you're getting. You're getting the processes and policies and all the Manheim technology from soup to nuts, right? An example of that would be if you buy a car from Manheim, on Manheim.com, you can flow through and do the checkout. You can pay, you can do everything. But for an independent, auction, you'd have to work with them to kind of transact it, right? So it creates kind of a clunky buyer experience. And because some of those processes and policies are different, we've gotten a lot of feedback over time that we thought it was best to segment that inventory and allow the independents to kind of have their different processes and policies, but make that part of OVE, where OVE can become the aggregation point for the industry that'll still have all the Manheim inventory, but allow Manheim to do what kind of we need to do on the Manheim website.
What was the thought process of bringing all these different sources into Manheim.com initially? It was to create a broader, bigger, larger marketplace, right?
Yes. It was,
but before you respond to that, I want to. I was going to ask the same question, Sam. So great chemistry right there. We deserve a jingle for that, Taylor. Ding. So what I was thinking is, did this have to do with more structural industry shifts that happened in the last 5 years? I mean, if you think about the last 5 years, right? We went through a time where there was historically no inventory. Yep. And if I'm Manheim and it's 2021 and inventory is declining, I'm saying, okay, right now, right? And by the way, dealers face the same thing, right? Like, let's be real. You did not have to have the best experience in 2021 to sell cars. Everyone could sell a car. It was just, that was the case. And so my brain, or my thinking goes is, look, we were at a time where you needed max inventory, and auction always needs max inventory. We all know that, but it was a bit of a different macro climate. Today, things are a bit more stable, and it's, me being completely separate from this, the way I see it is like, hey, we want to now bring the experience or put more focus on what it actually means to buy from Manheim, as opposed to just say, hey, we want to have every single vehicle listed. Anyways, that's kind of how I see it. But Joe, we'll let you respond to what was the initial reason for that.
Yeah. I think as Manheim continues to work on creating the largest seamless marketplace, bringing the digital and physical together, we need more flexibility in what we want to do kind of on the platforms. And there's been a number of occasions over the years as we think about that listed bid experience where we may want to change the rules. We may want to do things differently than our partner auctions. And this allows us to do what Manheim wants to do, introduce new technology, introduce new capability, while also allowing us to customize the experience for our auction partners and not making everyone do the same thing Manheim wants to do, or where we're negotiating the best of both worlds, but not doing what we want for the end buyer experience. So we think this is going to provide a lot more flexibility for our independent partners to try new things, do different things with the technology, how vehicles get listed online, as well as at the same time, from a Manheim perspective, we'll be able to introduce new technology and capability and be able to do it kind of as we want to try and experiment with things and not have to kind of, bring everyone along with us kind of on the core platform.
So between the lines, here's one area where I saw it practically impacting. So there were situations where some of our used car guys would buy something on Manheim.com. We'd have a title issue. There'd be some other sort of an issue. Yep. We'd call Cox. We'd say, hey, we need you to take care of this. He'd say, well, Yeah, but right. And you'd have to push to a third party because it was, to your point, sourced from a different site. So I get that part. Here's my question though. This change is 13 days old as of today, right? Or no. Yeah, 13 days old. It was done very quietly. Why so quiet? Why not? So I reached out to a few used car buyers inside and outside our group. Nobody really knew this, right? This is a change. So kind of quickly, the vehicles that were available on Manheim.com probably narrowed in number, scope, quantity, but kind of quietly. Was it quiet from your perspective, or what was your approach?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time leading up to this working with our independent partner auctions. And, we gave them, buyer lists. We let them know who was buying from them for them to be able to reach out and kind of share the experience on how they wanted to market this, because we want to support them, from an OBE perspective. That's why we as Manheim didn't come out and, share all that on day one. But if you notice, when you're going through kind of the searches on Manheim.com, we will still guide and direct you to OVE for some of that partner inventory if we don't have it. We don't have exactly what you're looking for, because we do want to make a good buyer experience and be good partners to the industry and kind of help individuals move back and forth between the different sites if a dealer is looking for that inventory.
Well, hey Joe, so with this change, you're centralizing more control, which gives you more capabilities. What type of experiments should we expect, right? As a dealer, is there anything you can tease with, or with more control, you can simply do more? What should the industry expect to see?
Yeah, I mean, if you've been to our website recently, we've done a lot to play with. Big things for us is how quickly you can get the inventory and get a bid or buy if you want, right? So we've reduced the number of clicks tremendously. In the search results page, if you look there now, you're able to actually bid right from the SRPs. We're going to start cleaning up the vehicle information, how things show up. That we want to kind of streamline our process, make it much more simple and easy, and take a lot of the friction out that we've heard, because we've had to help so many different folks in so many different use cases. We want to have the best pure digital capabilities industry to go with our best pure physical capabilities. And then you'll see over time just how do we start blending those together to create new cascading inventory opportunities, which we believe will be able to help dealers out tremendously. Because working with Manheim, you have multiple different ways to sell a vehicle. Each vehicle can almost take its own route from digital to physical or some variant, versus we know a lot of competitors, it's either one way or another way. All your vehicles have to go down the same pipeline. So you'll see a lot more introduction to capabilities to make it very customized and unique, where the car almost is the star. We joke internally, the car will be the star, versus all the cars having to go down kind of one channel.
So Joe, what's been the feedback from dealers and vendors and other partners that are now listing through OV? What's been the feedback to this?
Yeah, it's still early. I think after the initial introduction, we got a couple comments and feedbacks, but for us, it's been fairly quiet. There hasn't been a lot of feedback or anything floating up to the top. It's almost been kind of business as usual. Outside of, as you articulated, there's a lot less inventory on Manheim.com now, and we are noticing some of the metrics. It's easier to find cars, and people are able to see more and buy those vehicles. So we're trying to just be hyper focused on that buyer experience, while at the same time, how do we make sure? And this was a big decision point for us. We left all the Manheim inventory still sits on OV as well, right? So for those dealers wanting to go and look for the aggregator of everything, the inventory, all of Manheim still sits there, and the independent inventory. So it just depends what channel you want to log into to get to that. So we've been very very purposeful on that, and then as well as kind of getting people back and forth between the sites to make sure we take care of the buyers, because we want to make this a better overall buyer experience for the industry and a better experience for our partners. It gets more flexibility into the future.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you being on the show today. Last question, just before we go, because I'm curious, Cox is such a big player in the used car auction space. If you looked 5 years down the road, Joe, is there one change that dealers could anticipate to used car auction, used car buying, the used car marketplace that would benefit them to start moving towards today? Something, 3 to 5 years down the road.
3 to 5 years down the road. I think the biggest thing I would say is, in the short term, with technology and so many things changing, just be willing to try some of the new products and capabilities that are coming out, because they're all being designed in such a way to reduce friction and make things easier. I'm not sure what that silver bullet looks like, 5 years ago, but if I go back 15 years ago from when I started, it was like everything was physical. How do you try the digital? And now you look at the world now, we've completely reverted where a vast majority of all cars sold at, Manheim are digital, whether that's time sales or simulcast. Just be willing to try the new technology, work with us, provide the feedback. I like this show, getting the live feedback from everyone to make things better, because our intent is to either dispose of the vehicle quickly if that's what the dealer wants, or make them as much money as possible. And there'll be a million variants in between there with all the artificial intelligence and what's coming. So just, buckle up and provide feedback, and just know we're investing heavily to remain, the top marketplace in the industry.
So that is
And I
a
think
challenge
on that-
in our market.
on-
Try new things.
On
Go
that
ahead.
note, no, I just said, I think on that note, another interesting tip we received was when CarMax recently rolled out a feature similar to Manheim's Upside, which again was done just very quietly, and some dealers noticed it. So I think to Joe's point, it's these new features coming out, right? Different players in the industry are adopting them, trying to, and competition ultimately is good for the dealer. And it's just, I think, anyways, I'm here just to echo your point, which is there are, I mean, that's upside, I think, in general, that option that Manheim provides. And now CarMax, apparently in an experiment, is something that's recent, that wasn't around for, a very long time. So it is interesting to see how this is all evolving.
All right.
Well,
Joe
Joe, we
Kichler,
appreciate your
Senior Vice
transparency.
President, Digital and Supply Chain at Cox Automotive. Thanks for your feedback today.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Joe. It's cool. It's cool that, it's cool that, we can bring people on very, very short notice to talk about, right, the latest and greatest. So it's great to, be able to get that and to have, a real conversation. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Yossi, I'm excited about what comes next, because our support segment next is something that's near and dear to the Ziegler Auto Group. So let's turn to our live read, Drive for Life. I want to talk about that. Drive for Life Gala returns for its 43rd year on Thursday, September 25th, 2025, continuing a legacy that has raised over $6.3 million for life-changing causes. This unforgettable event is made possible by generous sponsors, by ticket holders, and auction participants. Sponsorship opportunities for the 2025 Gala are now open. Secure your spot before the August 24 deadline. Our keynote speaker this year is Western Michigan's men's hockey coach, Pat Ferschweiler. And for those of you that love college hockey, he led Western Michigan to their first NCAA national championship in 2025. You can click the link in the show notes to learn more and support the mission. The Ziegler Auto Group, Aaron Ziegler, Dan Scheid, our CFO, everyone values each of our vendor partners who support this annual gala. So there's one great way to get on that list, to be in that room, to be part of this event, and it's to follow the QR code here. I've got that down. Click the link here. That's right. You can email me. You can DM me across LinkedIn, across our different social media platforms to learn how to get involved. But this is a great event held annually in Kalamazoo, Michigan at the Radisson Hotel. And Yossi end up emceeing the event every single year. And it's just really cool to see dealers and our vendor partners, the people who matter the most to us as an auto group, supporting those causes that are most important to us. And 100% of the dollars raised at that event go directly to the charities that benefit from it. Aaron covers the cost of the gala, the food. We actually have some really good sponsors that actually give away. There's a raffle for a vehicle. So there's some really cool stuff that happen as part of this Drive for Life event every single year. So it'd mean the world to us to have our CDG Daily Dealer Live audience participate as well. So follow the QR code, Yossi. Yossi, it'd be great to have you there, by the way.
We might make an appearance.
There you go. There you go. So, all right. Polo says, I'm starting a role as a lender finance relationship manager. What's the best way to build trust with dealers in this current environment? Ooh, that's an interesting question, Yossi.
We'll ask Joel that question on our next segment.
All right, let's do it. All right, coming up next, we have Joel Bassam, president of Eastern's Automotive Group. Joel, welcome to the show.
Hey, happy to be here.
Wait, we can't start this segment without the Easterns jingle. Come on. What is this?
I got on
Wait, what is it?
Easterns
I don't know
Motors, your cars, your credit. at Eastern's Motors.
I don't know.
You're not from the area,
Oh
man.
my
That's it.
God.
No.
Dude, you are
No.
missing out, man.
Yeah.
400 Chevys, Kias, and
Not even close.
minivans, over 600 cars. Are you listening, man? Yeah, I butchered that, but it's a
Yeah,
great
the
jingle, and I
producer
can
ready to go on that.
I can Joe, I can only imagine the ROI on that jingle. Has to be in like the tens of millions. Has to be.
Can't even imagine it. Yeah.
Anyway, Joe, welcome to the show.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for calling me.
Well, Joel,
man,
as part
go
of
ahead.
Eastern's Auto Group, you've got 11 locations across DC, Maryland, Virginia. Obviously, I'm not enough in your footprint to know the jingle. I'm going to go look it up on YouTube now. But
Sure.
heck, to start off, how's biz out there?
Biz has been pretty tough actually in the last couple of months. But I think we're feeling kind of that plateau of the summer and what we would normally see this time of year. But definitely feeling the kind of sentiment across the market. But we're fighting it back every day and doing what we can to push back against what we see as kind of a trend that will remain the rest of this year and putting the pieces together for next.
Joel,
Yeah.
is that across your used car stores or also your franchise? And can you tell us which franchises you have today?
Yeah, so we have a Nissan store and a Hyundai store as well. And those are in the Baltimore DMAs. Those are slightly less impacted. I mean, I think overall the DC DMA is probably one of the most impacted by everything going on with the uncertainty across, the general economic uncertainty plus the federal government uncertainty. That's kind of our customer base overall that's had a, let's say, unstable job stability over the last couple of months, give or take. But the Baltimore team has been a little less impacted, and our brands are doing well over the last couple of months for different reasons, but doing well nonetheless.
Very cool. What's your take on the Manheim conversation we just had?
The Manheim conversation was super interesting. I mean, I think I don't think that this will be meaningfully impactful to a lot of the buyers that are across both those platforms. At least for us, that's what my buying team has kind of given me when I was prepping for this call. OVE as a platform has a different use case for large scale buying than Manheim directly does, and I think I believe that team's genuine in their intention of saying this is a platform that you buy this way and this is a platform you buy that way, and we're kind of consolidating that into a more concise way for the market to look at all the inventory in one place.
And it kind of makes sense too with arbitration and
Right.
all challenges. Manheim.com, you go to one source, it's the same set of rules. And OVE, you can deal with different platforms, right?
Completely agree with you. I mean, consumers and buyers and wholesalers who are buying from Manheim are buying there for a specific set of reasons, and it's not necessarily to be the least expensive, but it's for the other inherent benefits that you get from buying from a large auction house. And some of those rules don't necessarily apply to the OVE inventory, so it kind of makes a little bit of sense. I could see how it'd be disruptive to people who are accustomed to a certain type of way of looking through their wholesale availability, but that adjustment will be made relatively quickly, I think, and this shouldn't be meaningfully impactful to available inventory because that hasn't changed. Now, that being said, what isn't the biggest problem right now at the wholesale market is just lack of available inventory. So, this doesn't kind of play into that, but it's kind of a weird time to be making these kind of moves because there's just not a lot to buy out there.
Joel, talk to us more about inventory. You don't have a used car department. I mean, you are a used car retailer through and
Right.
through. It's the lifeblood of the majority of your business. You're selling thousands of used per month.
Mhm.
How are you handling the used car availability in general? I just give us like the full picture of what your buying strategy looks like today.
Yeah, right now it's definitely get whatever you can. I mean, that's more or less it. There was a lot that we had learned through COVID, like muscles that we had let atrophy because of the massive availability of inventory. We're re-engaged with that fully. But I wouldn't sugarcoat it. It's hard to get inventory right now. We're carrying not enough inventory to facilitate as many sales as we want, and there's no doubt that's having a negative impact overall on the amount of used car throughput that we can facilitate. And other kind of current changes is, I've seen other people in the market and other dealers say the same thing where, the idea of aged inventory policies when there isn't available replacement units is definitely not something that is important right now. And if you don't have a solid flow of trades coming in the door, it's really difficult to go out and find units. And it's all the same problems we've been dealing with the last couple of years, not to kind of beat that dead horse, but the biggest issue
Joe,
is
wait,
affordable cars.
and on that question though, you have a high concentration of subprime. How are you handling the trade situation? Like, are you getting lots of customers who are flipped? I mean, is more than usual less? I mean, how are you handling trades in general?
Yes. Yes to all. I mean, but yeah, there's no different way to handle it besides the same way that we always have, which is not to play games with trades. It's not something where you can win necessarily. You should step up and pay the best price possible. I'd say another thing that we've fully embraced is max offer as effectively a book value. Even though you could argue that there are direct competition, there's still an important metric because they have the ability to say this is the best end user for a vehicle. And while in theory, us as an operator could buy a trade and say, I know I could demand a premium for moving this car across the country. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze in that instance. And I have no problem liquidating that asset to a competitor like CarMax. And, as an operator for CarMax, they still liquidate a huge amount of their trades as well.
Yeah. So when yeah, I was going to clarify when you say max offer, you're saying literally CarMax's
Mhm.
max offer
Correct.
feature.
Yeah, 100%.
Understood.
Yeah, we've kind of embraced that as part of our acquisition strategy. And I know I've been working or trying to work with the AccuTrade team, we use as our main trade appraisal process of integrating that as a platform. I think that that's a way that the market should go. I think one of the negative consequences or positive, depending on where you sit in the buy flow, is there seemed to be everyone was coming to the market with some kind of trade appraisal platform. And now, as a dealer who is buying cars off the street, customers come in with 3, 4, 5, 6 offers on a vehicle, and it's really a game of whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
And I think just kind of embracing that as like a lending tree style of appraisal, because we're all sitting here saying this is what I think I can pay for that car, and as long as it's real, it's a positive thing.
So on the CarMax max offer, you're paying that dollar amount. You're not sending it back to them to acquire.
Correct. Yeah, we're using that as
Okay.
basically a firm back offer. And but even there are instances where they will put a number on a vehicle that we don't necessarily agree with, and we will sell them that car. We're
Yeah.
okay with that because of the economics of it.
Yeah.
Joel, one of
Go
the
ahead.
things that I was always impressed with your group is hearing you and Robert talk about just efficiencies. I remember on a
Mm.
prior podcast, and when we were together in person. And I'm curious, where are you finding efficiencies today? Right? Because
Mm.
you are, as a used car dealer, primarily, right? You
Yeah.
have franchises now, but you don't have the buffer of the 60% margin service department, right? You
Sure.
don't have that. And yes, you have F&I, but still, it's you're playing a very tight game here, more than
Yeah.
a franchise dealer who's got a little bit more diversification. So where are you finding efficiencies today? What's new? What's changing? Where are you putting your focus on within the dealership?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as like let's call it pre-tail, I mean, efficiencies are always in the recon process. So that is something that, I think we have pretty buttoned down, but we can never stop iterating on and step growing on. So, to me, that's all about certainty, and I'm not just saying this because Manheim was just a previous guest, but they're our main buying partner, and we have a tremendous relationship with them as an organization because of the strength it gives us on efficiencies, because of the consistency of being able to look at a vehicle, buy it, let's say in Manheim, Pennsylvania, use that condition report to pre-order parts before we even pick up the vehicle. And so for us, for instance, like pre-tail, if we buy a car from Manheim, PA, that car has an RO created, is live on the website with condition report photos, and parts have been ordered while it's still sitting on the lot in Pennsylvania. And that's to get time to retail down as quickly as possible in order to get that out there, up, available for sale, and have a consistent idea of what that cost will be, because that'll determine the price, which will determine the front end margin. But as far as like kind of after that and the overall marketing approach, it's really been leveraging that same thing that everyone's been beating, of leaning into the data that's in-house, leaning into first party, and figuring out how to maximize the return on what we have, as opposed to trying to create more throughput by just spending more money outwards in marketing.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about that. So
Sure.
on when you say on the actual front end, where are you seeing movement? Are you seeing movement with the actual retail margin on the vehicle, F&I, and one versus the
No,
other?
I would say that, I mean, to me, like front end margin is a reflection of discipline. So it comes down to how consistent we want to be and how much control we can put into the systems that get us vehicles out up for retail at a competitive price, which we should know prior to acquisition, not after. And as far as the same thing with backend is a reflection of sales discipline and presentation of products throughout the entire life cycle of the consumer. So offering fully priced and retail available products that are rated on the individual VDP before a customer arrives is a standard practice for us. There's no gate to figure out what the best price of the vehicle is. There's no, PII gate for figuring out what a warranty or extended VSC would cost. It's all available and publicly shown to the consumers prior to their arrival. And we've seen that continue to increase adoption, resulting in huge penetration numbers.
Okay, and you were also one of the earliest and just most prominent dealers when it came to used EV retailing. You
Hmm.
were very early to this trend, right? Before
Sure.
people even knew about the used EV tax credit, you were already slinging, hundreds of these.
Yeah.
How are you doing today? Like, are you still
Nothing's
retailing
changed.
lots of? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been good. I mean, we have a firm timeline. We know when it's going to end. It's sooner than we had
Hmm.
hoped, but it's going to happen nonetheless. And so I think right now we're carrying around 200 EVs, which is about a month's
Wow.
supply for us. So um,
Wow.
that we should sell all those. We're kind of not buying many more EVs. And when I say that, let me be clear. There's two different types of EVs. There are EVs that are cars, and there are EVs that are tax credit cars, right? Those are
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
completely different categories of vehicles.
Yeah.
Completely different
Yeah,
vehicles,
right.
completely
And
different
so,
assets.
yeah,
Period.
100%. So, I would say like a Model Y that is not impacted by this whatsoever, will not move. And that is just a reflection of demand in the consumer. And then you would say that there are other vehicles, let's say a Hyundai Kona EV, that may not have a huge amount of demand, but may have artificially increased in value because of the EV tax credit. And I think that
Mm.
the dust in the fishbowl will settle, so to speak, after September 30th. And so you just
Mm.
kind of don't want to be caught holding the bag. Because I was, again, prepping for this call, talking to wholesaler, they actually say that EVs at the wholesale level are strong right now because people are kind of trying to get the last little,
Yeah. Well, you
juice
still
out of it.
got time. I mean, yeah, you
Yeah,
got 60 days, right?
right,
So.
right. And they tend to come out of recon faster, generally speaking.
Mhm.
Interesting. So a couple questions from our audience. Dan C asks, Joel, what percent of your inventory comes from trade-ins versus auction purchases?
Right now, because remember, we're only used car players, so the collateral
Yeah.
that we can retail, right? It's about 25 to 30% of our vehicles that we sell have a trade on them, and about 20 to 30% of those we'll keep for retail. So
Okay.
not enough to
That's
be honest.
higher than I would have guessed, though, for
For a used player, I
mostly
mean
independent.
that's
Yeah.
better than it used to be, and it's mostly because we've gotten more comfortable selling higher mileage vehicles. There's
Yeah.
generally a used buyer
Okay.
previously bought used, so the collateral will have more miles on it. And so those are kind of those kind of bands of exceptions that I mentioned that we had built during COVID that we've got.
How high of miles are you comfortable now? Because
I
I'm
mean, our
seeing that
average
trend as well.
mileage is yeah, average miles in the 60s. I mean, we'll go up to the hundreds if we need to, but those vehicles then get put into a separate category of type of retail. So those are sold as is and things like that. So there are differences between those retail events.
Joel, are
Jesse
you
Hill
leaning
online. Go ahead.
during the process of your sales process? Are you leaning more, less, or the same on manufacturer's warranty or like remaining balance? I mean, you mentioned 60,000
Mhm.
miles as your average, which most warranties are over by then for
Sure.
the most
Yeah.
part. But
Right.
is that still like a really big important part of your sale? Or how do you think about that as a used car retailer?
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's just based on what's available in the market. So those numbers have crept up and actually have started to creep down, but we'll get better over time. 2019, the last version of normality, that number was 45,000 miles. So there still was coverage on those. But yeah, that's still part of our overall presentation of consumers. I would say it boils back to what I mentioned before about understanding where you're going to be in the retail event prior to the acquisition of that vehicle. And
Mhm.
so when we buy that car, we want to know that it's going to perform in the portfolio for the lender that will eventually underwrite that loan, that it'll perform for the products that we're going to put on that car, that'll keep the customer on the road, and it'll be a profitable transaction for us. So all that's part of the acquisition strategy.
Yep.
So that's still part of our presentation of value of the vehicle, even so that we actually have customers sign the Carfax report as part of our signing ceremony. It's just naturally part of what we do.
Yeah. Smart.
Very cool. One thing that you said that I'm fascinated by, you said you've kind of removed your turn on used cars. Tell us more about that. So I get kind of removing the turn standard and aged inventory standard in the group because of it's tougher to get used cars. But how are you preventing stuff from getting super old or used car managers from hiding things in inventory currently?
Well, I mean, for us, we don't have used car managers, so to speak. We have an inventory
Yeah.
department that's centralized that controls the inventory for the entire group. And
Oh,
so
so you have a group buying department. You do
we
everything in
have,
one
yeah. I
place.
mean,
Yeah.
just a quick version for Easterns. It's full hub and spoke. So our stores, we call delivery centers. They only have sales managers and non-commissioned salespeople. Everything else is controlled out of corporate. So accounting,
Wait,
marketing,
even
HR.
F&I, Joel, or is F&I
F&I
in
F&I is
store?
controlled to the tower. So we don't have F&I boxes. So the tower, the sales tower, it's a full hybrid tower. They can do an entire deal,
Mm.
including the signing ceremony, and they get paid on the entire gross of the deal.
Hmm.
So there is no
Got it. And that's per store though. That's not
That's at every
centralized. That's
store.
per
Yeah,
store. Okay,
right.
got it.
And that does happen per store, and they calculate their own inventory. But the inventory, I'm sorry, their own gross. But the inventory department oversees its one inventory, one floor plan, one set of chart of accounts, and then they control the inventory for the entire group. So to answer your question, the inventory department makes those decisions on what cars go to which stores, how they get transferred from store to store, and what they're priced at. And then that, even the costs essentially controlled on the vehicles as well.
So the individual store GM doesn't necessarily have P&L responsibility for that.
No, because we don't produce P&Ls per store, and there is no GM.
Yeah. Got it.
So
it'd be like a sales manager at each location or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Akin to a GSM plus, I suppose. We call them GMs, and they're owners of their stores, but their roles and responsibilities are uniquely controlled.
This is a key.
And does that
because for every franchise dealer listening who's leaning heavier into used, and as we've seen, the trend of many stores are opening up a used only store companion to their franchise store. This is literally the model to build if you're going to do that, right? It's a one department, right? It's just let them sell.
Well, but I'm curious, does that follow through to your newly acquired franchise locations, Nissan and Hyundai?
Not really, honestly. No, it's
really?
a little bit of it's a kind of rejecting the transplant, if I'm being honest, when it comes to how we operate. And this is a learning thing for us. We're new to new. And so understanding kind of the adoption of how we've always done business, which, you could argue, if you're going to use a negative term, it's a little micromanaging when it comes to the stores, because it's all so centrally controlled. It's a difficult thing to apply to a new business. And it's something we're still actively working on.
Yeah. So last question, how do you have accountability with the OEMs as it relates to Nissan and Hyundai? Because they obviously want to have somebody to talk to, somebody to engage with, make sure CSI and whatnot. Is that you?
Okay. It's a combination of me and our executive team. Like we work that the way that we need to be worked. It's new to us. I'm not accustomed to having a partner. But it's overall a good thing. It's a different type of business. I would say, honestly, it's a completely different business. That's what it boils down to. I think a lot of times people want the franchise business to be a used car store and a used car store to be a franchise business. They're two completely different entities that operate in completely different spaces.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your perspective and for sharing your model. And most importantly, I need to hear the jingle. So I will get the jingle by the end of today.
Gotta hear the jingle.
Yeah. Joel Bassam, President, Eastern's Automotive Group. Yeah, go ahead.
Wait.
I was going to say, to answer Jesse's question, yes, we still have the referral program.
Okay. Very good. Yeah.
Listen, if I could buy Joel Bassam stock, I'd buy it. That's all I want to say. So
that's high praise. That's high praise. Joel Bassam, President, Eastern's Automotive Group. Thanks for being on the show and sharing your perspectives.
Thanks, Joe.
Good to see you guys.
All right. That's a fun conversation. I want to hear the jingle. I'm getting the jingle. So, and
he's a great operator, man. I love speaking with him. He's on top of it. He's forward thinking. And I just always enjoy having a chat with Joel. So
one of the questions I always get at talking about a buy center, and we've had many that have advocated for that, is if you have a buy center and they're buying for 10 stores, what about the stuff where they've made a mistake or it's less desirable inventory? Who gets what? How do you make those decisions? How do you allow the GM to continue to have that full autonomy and ownership in doing a kind of a collective in the middle? So, but he answered that. There is none, right? So let's turn to Yuriy Demidko, Senior VP, Chief Information Officer at Fox Motors, to talk about all things tech and mistakes and problems in the tech world today. Yuriy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's tall water, all things, up to all things. Okay.
Yuriy, we're pumped to have you back on the show. You were with us on the Industry Spotlight with Impel, which is a tech and an AI provider. But we get so much feedback on a regular basis as it relates to how dealers lean into technology. Wanted to come to you for that. But before we get into that, how's business at Fox Motors, Grand Rapids, actually throughout Michigan? How's business?
I think kind of going with what Joe said, it's been a bit of, we had a bit of a plateau, but we're getting through it. Part of it too, I think everybody was giving each other high fives over April due to the tariff, due to the whole tariff uncertainty. And I think that increased business kind of took away a little bit from the rest of summer. But overall, I think we'll get through it.
Yeah. Yuriy, I got to ask you, when I Googled Fox Motors, the first thing that came up, and I didn't click on it, I promise, was an ad. I didn't click on it. I didn't charge you money.
Click the one below. Click one below.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, at this point, it's like 3 below, but it was the URL. The URL was onlythebestusedcars.com. Was that your idea, or like whose idea? Like, tell me. I would love to know like how you've measured the effectiveness of that. So, and sorry, Sam, for derailing the
No, you're good.
conversation, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had to sneak
yeah,
that in. I had to sneak that in there.
yeah.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. That was probably wrong for a long time before my time.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who came up with that, but that fits the motto really well. That's literally in our tag is only the best. But I would, if I would attribute it to somebody, I'd probably say our VP of marketing, Sarah Raymond. That sounds
Got
creative
it.
enough for her to come up with it. I don't know if I'm creative to that level. See, I don't know if I
Yeah.
think that far ahead. So
Yeah, because it reminds me of the when people do like SEO naming or stuff where they name like a restaurant like
Mhm.
Thai food near me and stuff like that, and the keyword stuffing, right? You're trying to get the keywords into the name of the business. So anyway, so that's my little question there. But Sam, back to you.
So tell us, Yuri, who you are and what you do at Fox. I think that's important to kind of set up what you're doing.
Well, so as you said, I'm the chief information officer. In one word, if I would say, what do I do? Innovation. That's really it. Generally through technology, I'd say mostly, through improving processes, finding new ways to do old things, as well as finding new things to do with new ways. So
Yeah.
I would say that's my main job is really innovation, just looking ahead, being strategic. I think strategy is one of the big ones where, I feel like as you both know, in the car business, we're a very 6-foot world. We don't have QBRs like they have in other businesses. We have MBRs. Every month is essentially like its own whole annual cycle. And my position is the weird one because instead of looking at the month, what I'm doing is I'm looking at literally how is technology going to take us 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and try
Yeah.
to kind of pivot the business in that direction, which is, it's challenging in the car business, as you can imagine.
So as you think about that in this month, as we close out July of 2025, what are some of the most important things you're working on today to set up for that longer term view in the technology space?
I would say some of the big things is just finding the happy medium, and this involves a bunch of different stuff. But finding a happy medium between implementation of AI, whether it's full automation or empowering our people to do more with the new technologies.
Yeah.
I think Go ahead.
And where have you found the best place to implement those new technologies practically in automotive? So I do think you're right. Like it's always a balance between leaning into the people, and then having the technology that helps deliver their best product. And you've done a nice job of that, I think, at Fox of finding that balance. Where is that balance?
I think some of the, the low hanging, and that's really I wouldn't say low hanging fruit. Some of the big wins in automotive, I think getting more and more prevalent now is lead response time. So lead response automation, internet leads come in. What's really interesting, a lot of leads in our group, for example, over 30%, over 30, like 37-ish% of leads coming after hours, and leveraging AI to start engaging with those leads really meets the customer where they're at. Meaning, hey, they're home from work, they're sitting, they just had dinner and now decided to look at a vehicle. Things like I think that really brings it. I think that one has been extremely successful. Some other ones, I think sentiment analysis. I think more and more dealers are starting to do this. These used to be $100,000 consulting fees to find how do people feel about you. Now, as long as you can get all the information, you can have an AI analyze it and provide you a consulting level insight into what the sentiment is about your group. I think the other one is also, in this one's not as much generative AI, but more to enhancing videos, enhancing photos, so much better merchandising, much more consistent image and brand across platforms. I think AI has assisted significantly in that. And of course, price intelligence. That's the other one. Go ahead.
So you dealt with 4 big topics. We could actually do almost an entire show on that. So kind of in a lightning round, let's hit each one of those. So lead response time, that's fascinating. As we set up that convo, do you have a BDC, a traditional BDC, or are you kind of leaning more into having AI perform that function?
So we have what I would call a hybrid, and it's on the store level. So it depends on so we had a BDC, and we actually went away from that. And what we did was we took the BDC people, and it's not that we just got rid of the BDC. We started putting those people into specific stores that are higher volume. So
Yeah.
higher volume locations have a lot more internet leads. And once the AI has engaged with those leads, there is a lot. It starts handing things off to our people.
So Yuriy, last week on the show, we had Glenn Lundy, and he talked about how a great BDC is really your frontline sales. It seems like you're leaning into that. Let AI kind of respond first touch, and then train those formerly BDC to be frontline sales to connect between AI and the sales team. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. But the AI doesn't start selling the vehicle. It really just starts to kind of gauge where the customer is at, what are they looking for, answer any kind of simple questions that can be, like, does the car have a sunroof? We just had a baby. Are there child locks and stuff like that in the vehicle? So things of that nature, the AI can easily answer. But once the conversation starts taking to a more serious, buying signal turn, it hands it off. And where these people come in the middle is it something that we should give to the sales team right away, or should it just be another human in the loop follow-up?
Yeah.
And once it is time for the sales team, it gets handed over.
So is there, and this isn't a sponsored spot. We're not like trying to promote any vendor in particular, but is there a tool that you found that does a great job on that lead response in the AI world?
So on the lead response, we use Impel. We like them, and it's not by any means. Honestly, so far they've been a great partner, and it's been working. It's been as advertised. And one thing that I like about their approach is they're constantly iterating and constantly introducing new features and more subjective ways to work with the customer, which is extremely important to me from a customer experience standpoint. So
yeah. So the second area,
my wife just texted me. She's like, "You got to smile more in the stream." So I got to smile more, guys. I'm serious. I'm listening intently over here, guys.
Taylor needs to have like a smile cover for both of us, right? So when we're totally focused and we're listening, there's like like an AI generator. So Yuriy, you talk about sentiment. I love the thought of that. Like, everybody in automotive, how is the message that we're putting out in the world received by the consumer? That's sentiment, I would assume, right? How are you gauging that? And is there any tool that you're using to gauge that quickly? And practically, how does that benefit in sales? Like, what's the ROI on that?
So, to Yassi's point, I just want to point this out. When I'm not talking, I can smile when I'm talking or when somebody says a joke. But if I'm just sitting there waiting for you to talk, I literally don't know what to do with my face. And I'm generally a smiley individual, which is kind of funny. But anyway, I digress. That being said, we don't use a tool. So actually, this one was homegrown. What I did was I built a tool to get all of our reviews, like in all the different channels, ingested all that thing into a database, and then layered AI on top of it to then look at it and start building that analysis.
You're a mad scientist. How do you do that practically? Like, how do you sit at an auto group and create this? Like,
I get bored. So I get bored, and this was one of those. Our CEO actually brought up, like, he wanted to know, like, can we do something like this? And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. So then later that evening, I was sitting there. I'm like, well, let me try. And and
that's the beauty of automotive, by the way, Yuriy, and Yossi, right? You find a need, you find something that would benefit automotive, the consumer, our employees, the group, and you create the tool. That is the seed. That's the start of every great idea in automotive, Yossi.
Well, what he said earlier about sentiment analysis, I haven't heard that before. And that's a very practical, smart use of like a deep research on ChatGPT, right? Just say like, give me the top 5 ways we can improve this month based on, reviews. Now, it's easy if you get 1 or 2 reviews, but if you're a big group, let's say, and maybe you have multiple stores, and it gets a little tougher to track that exact sentiment, I think that's a very strong use case. You can even get very specific with it. You can say, hey, find me other stuff that may have overlooked through the internet. I think that's a great one.
So
Yeah, and Sam, to your point, real quick, just the the ROI implications of that are really interesting, because some of the things you start seeing, like the trends, are very simple. For example, let's say people feel like warranty did not cover what they expecting it was cover, what they were expecting it to cover. Well, that serves like two purposes right there. On one hand, you now know, okay, we should educate about what warranty actually covers and what it doesn't. And on the other hand, you could use that as an upselling tool if you really think about it, because then you could say, hey, here is the educated information about warranty, and it's not covering this piece. Just so you know, in these vehicles, this happens, and the service contract can cover that.
So how are you connecting the findings that you're getting in your department in with sales and variable? Like, are they welcoming of that? Are they saying, hey, give it to us, we want to know, and then we execute quickly on it? Like, what does that look like, the plugin?
So what we essentially, in this particular case, this one, it's not like you have to say, hey, I did anything. You just say, hey,
Yeah.
here's some of the trends
Here's
we're
a
seeing.
finding. Yeah.
Yeah, here's a finding. What do you guys think we should do about it? And I mean, most people won't be like, nothing. Let's just let it burn. So.
Well, Yuriy, as we get to the end of our show today, we definitely want to have you back, because you're a wealth of knowledge as it relates to all things AI. And Yossi, I got to tell you, props to Yuriy. Yuriy told me about a project he was working on his own to create kind of a personal assistant that was totally AI driven. We'll go off show and talk about that. I need that one day. It doesn't help that we're competitors, Fox and Ziegler, but we're great competitors. We care about each other. So if your AI tool becomes my assistant, then hopefully you won't share that with anybody else. But we appreciate having. That's right. Yes, that's exactly right. We appreciate having you on the show today, Yuriy Demidko, Senior VP, Chief Information Officer at Fox Motors. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Yuriy.
I love that fun conversation on sentiment, Yossi.
Yeah, it's awesome. We got a comment here.
Comment from Nick. Love the show. Listen to the podcast every day when I drive home from work, which that leads into the Dealer 20 idea. We love that. So thank you. All right, well, let's wrap today. Thanks, everybody, for being on this Monday Daily Dealer Live. Thank you for watching Daily Dealer Live, where we break down the biggest moves in the car business as they happen. Emoji and all. It's a smiley face for Yossi. Don't forget, we're live here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if this is your world, hit like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you'll never miss a beat. We'll see you next episode. Thanks, everybody.